Hey, welcome everyone. You're listening to our podcast Shine, where we ask real questions about how people, especially young people, can actually have a say in what happens around them. I'm Stefan. I study political science, and like most of us in my generation, I've been told I should get involved. But no one really explains what that means or how to do it. So today I've invited someone who spends a lot of time thinking and searching about this stuff. Associate Professor Ivanov. He's with us in the studio, and we're about to break down what constructive participation really means. Before diving in, I came across this quote that really made me stop and think. If you're not at the table, you're on the menu. It's a bit dramatic, but I think it captures the feeling that if we're not involved, we're probably being left out and decided for.
Thanks for the invite, Stefan. I'm glad to be here, and I really appreciate that you're starting this conversation from a place of honesty. Participation sounds good on paper, but in the practice, it's messy and often unequal. That quote captures the essence of what we're exploring today: constructive participation in decision making. It's not just about being present in the room, it's about actively shaping the decisions that affect your life.
Right, so let's ground this in something real. Imagine your local council wants to shut down the only skate park in your town, and you and your friends are angry but also ignore it. What can you do?
One option is to gather your crew, maybe the whole skating community, and protest in front of the skate park. But then, who will actually hear you? Maybe the press, if you wrote a press release. Maybe some people passing by will catch the noise and see your frustration.
Or you could protest in front of City Hall, hoping that someone with decision making power actually listens.
Exactly. And maybe you try another strategy. You ask for a meeting with the mayor. You prepare your arguments, bring alternatives, and speak calmly, face to face.
So, which of these options actually works? Is shouting louder enough? Does being polite get you further? How do you even know your voice matters at all?
Well, constructive participation is not just making noise, but making change. Understanding what it means to participate in decisions that affect you and how to do it in a way that actually works.
So, what is constructive participation is and why does it matter in democracy?
Well, it's not just being present at the meeting or tracking a box in a vote. It's about engaging in decisions that affect you and doing it in a way that aims to build something better, not just stop something worse. It means understanding how decisions are made, who makes them, and figuring out how to bring your voice into that process with purpose, not just to resist, but to reshape.
And this goes deeper than just politics, right?
Absolutely. Democracy isn't just about elections every 4 years. It's about what happens between elections. Who gets hurt? Whose problems are seen? Whose ideas shape the future?
Can you give us some historical context?
Sure, if we look at history, participation was never a given, it was fought for. In ancient Athens, we had the first model of direct citizen involvement, even though it excluded women, slaves, and foreigners. Then came the French Revolution when people rose up against monarchic rule, demanding liberty, equality, and a role in the political life. Fast forward to the civil rights movement in the US, where black Americans, students, and workers claimed their place in shaping society. And today, youth movements across the globe are pushing for participation, from climate strikes to education reforms.
This raises an important question. How can ordinary people take part in decision making when modern systems are so complex and overwhelming?
One answer is that we must have new open space for participation. Not just elections or hearings, but things like citizen assemblies, multi-publics, participatory budgeting, and online platforms for deliberation. Participation must be designed into the system, not left to privilege. Governments must shape power. And people, especially young people, needs the tools, knowledge, and courage to engage.
Before you expand more of these practices in participation, you said earlier that we need to understand how decisions are made. What does that look like?
Start with 3 questions. Who holds the power? What are the rules of the game? Where can your voice enter and actually matter? These aren't abstract, they're beginning of strategy.
Okay. What tools can help us figure that out?
Let's begin with Einstein's Leader of Citizen Participations. Created in '69, it maps level of participation from manipulations and tokenism at the bottom, where you're technically involved but not heard, up to consolidation, partnership, and finally citizen control. Ask yourself, where are you on that ladder?
That's helpful, but for young people especially, how do we know if our participation is real?
That's where the Landy model comes in. It's a framework from education and children's rights, and it says 4 things must be present. Space. Do you have a place to express your views? Voice. Are you supported and listened to? Audience. Is someone in power hearing you? Influence. Do your views impact the outcome?
Let's bring back the skate park example.
Great idea. If you and your friends just talk to each other, that's voice but not audience. If you write to the mayor and never hear back, that's audience without influence. Real. Constructive participation needs all 4, and you can also look at the forms of action in that case. Protest at the skate park? That's symbolic. It makes noise and gets attention. Protest at the city hall? That's political pressure directed at those in power. Meet the mayor? That's institutional dialogue, working inside the system to co-shape the outcome. Each has its place, but not all are effective in the same way.
So, participation is a skill, and it's something we can practice.
Exactly. People don't become active citizens by magic. They learn by doing. Schools, youth councils, even workplaces should be training grounds for democracy. Start where you are. Organize a school assembly. Propose a change in your youth club. Lead a community project.
Do you have some practical ideas for how young people can actually get involved?
Definitely, and I can further explain those practices that I mentioned above. You could start by joining a student council or a youth advisory group, or even starting one if none exist. That's a direct way to get your voice heard and learn how decisions are made. Another option is to show up a public consultation. They might sound boring, but it's where real input gets gathered. And honestly, just showing up already sets you apart. You can also try participatory budgeting. In some cities and schools, young people help decide how to spend a portion of the budget. And it's a hands-on way to learn what democracy feels like when money is involved. Digital tools are another road. Apps and platforms where you can submit ideas, vote on proposals, or join public deliberations online. It's especially useful if you're in a smaller town or can't always attend events in person. And finally, don't underestimate the power of alliances. Connect with teachers, youth workers, journalists, NGOs, people who can support your cause, amplify your voice, or help you navigate the systems. Whatever method you choose, remember, it's about combining energy with strategy.
But it's not always smooth. What obstacles do people usually face?
So many. First, be taken seriously. Youth often get tokenized. Their response bring facts, ask good questions, and find allies. Then there's an issue of confusing systems. Bureaucracies can be heard or navigate, and sometimes intentionally so. Became a map maker, study the system, help others understanding it too.
And what if someone tries really hard to make a difference, but nothing seems to change? Like, could that make people want to give up?
Absolutely. Change takes time. Work with a team. Celebrate small wins. Step back when needed. It's something that political researcher James Loam has also written about. How many young people feel politically alienated, especially when they don't see results or when their participation feels performative. His research reminds us that the young voice is powerful, but it also needs real space of impact to stay alive.
I guess sometimes people might feel nervous or unsure about speaking up. Like, what if they say something that is wrong?
Yes, we're talking about internal fears, totally normal. Everyone doubts themselves at some point, and in fact, this is where participation really begins, not with having all the answers, but with having the courage to ask questions and show up. Think of skater park example again. Some people might feel too inexpressed to meet with the mayor, but every step you take, even just writing that first message or speaking up once, it's like climbing Arnstein ladder. You move from silence to voice and from voice to impact. Confidence grows with actions, not before it.
What if the people in charge just don't want to listen? Like, what if they keep all the power and don't really include others?
Some systems just don't want to share power, but even asking questions is political. When institutions are opaque or resistant, simply showing up and naming the imbalance can be a form of resistance. It disrupts the assumption that power should remain hidden or untouchable. Think again about Einstein's leader. Even if you're stuck on the lower rungs, just challenging your position on the leaders puts pressure on the systems to adjust. As political philosopher Iris Mayron Young put in, inclusion is not just about being at the table. It's about having your lived experience count in shaping what's on the agenda. Real participations push for that shift from visibility to influence.
And if you're not given a seat on the table?
Then build your own and invite others in.
Okay, we've talked a lot about participation, but what about at the European level? Are there real ways young people can get involved beyond their town or school, for example?
Absolutely, and that's such an important point. When people think of Europe, they often imagine something far away in Brussels, complicated, full of politics. But actually, the European Union has created real tools to bring young people closer to decision making. One of the biggest is the European strategy, which runs from 19 to 27.
What is that exactly?
It's a commitment by EU countries to support youth participations, inclusion, and improvement. What makes it different is that it doesn't just talk about young people, it listens to them. The strategy is built around 11 youth goals, and these goals were written by officials in a meeting room. They were co-created by young people across Europe through consultations, forums, and dialogue sessions.
What are some of the goals?
Let's start with youth goal number 1, connecting European Union with youth. This one about making the European Union feel less distant, less like something that happens somewhere else. It's about bringing Europe closer to your daily life through education, visibility, and direct engagement. Then there's goal number 4, informations and constructive dialogue. This recognizes how easy it is today to be overwhelmed by informations or misled by misinformations. The goal is to make sure young people have access to clear and can actually talk with decision makers, not just receive press releases. And goal number 9, space and participation for all is a big one. It calls for real spaces, physical and digital, where all young people, regardless of background, have a chance to participate meaningfully. Not just a seat at the table, but a voice that heard.
Okay, that sounds powerful. But how does it go from ideas to actual participation?
That's where the European Youth Portal comes in. It's like your entry point into the European Union's youth programs. You can find opportunities for learning, traveling, volunteering, and most importantly, influencing policies. For instance, there's the European Solidarity Corps, where you can volunteer or work on projects that help communities across Europe. And there are European Union Youth Dialogues, started process where young people like you get to sit with policymakers and give input that can shape national and European priorities.
So it's not just theoretical.
Not at all. Let me drive you an example. In a recent European Union Youth Dialogue cycle, the topic was youth and democracy. Thousands of young people across Europe contributed ideas, shared concerns, and made proposals. Those ideas were later presented to European Union ministries, and some were even integrated into official Council conclusions. That is participation that leaves a trace. That's what constructive participation looks like when systems create real channels and when young people step in with purpose.
But how can someone listening right now actually get involved?
Start by exploring Europa.eu Yacht. That's your hub. You'll find updates, calls for participations, grants, travel opportunities, and platforms to raise your voice. And you're involved in the young group or local NGO, see if they're connected to European Union programs. Many are. And if they are not, maybe you can be the one to make that link. Also, follow your national youth council. In many countries, they organize consultations and represent your voices at the European level. And don't underestimate the power of small steps. Replying to a consultation, joining a local dialogue, or participating in a youth exchange can open doors you didn't even know exist.
So basically, Europe is not as far as it seems.
Exactly. Participation doesn't stop at your city or school. It can grow, connect, and reach the European level, where your voice can help shape the future of an entire continent.
Thanks, Associate Professor Ivanov. I'm leaving this chat with more questions, but also more fire.
That's how participation starts, not with answer, but with the courage to ask and act.